Chesterfield. Chesterfield. Low in nicotine, highest in quality, best for you. Chesterfield brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. You get a call that a man has barricaded himself in his apartment. The report says he's going to kill himself. Your job, stop him. Smokers by the thousands are now changing to Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever to give you 1, proof of low nicotine, highest quality. 2, this proven record with smokers. No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield. Chesterfield, regular or king size, low in nicotine, highest in quality, best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, November 18th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Warman. My name's Friday. I was on my way back to the office, and it was 10:32 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Joe?
Yeah?
That didn't take too long.
No, Saul just got the coffee made. Here you are.
Thanks. Boy, it sure is hot.
Mm-hmm. Anything come in?
No, it's been pretty quiet.
I got it. Homicide, Friday. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. When was that? Mm-hmm. No, ma'am. No, if you'll wait just... Yes, I understand, but... Yes, ma'am. If you'll wait just a moment, I'll transfer you to robbery. Yes, ma'am. Well, they'll explain it to you over there. Right. Could you hold on, please? Would you give this call to 2511, please? Yes, that's right.
Sure dismal weather.
Yeah. Feels like it's going to rain, doesn't it? Paper says it might hit tonight.
Yeah. Well, I hope it clears up before Sunday.
What do you got figured out this time?
Well, Joe, I don't understand why you say it that way.
You don't, huh?
No.
Well, what do you got figured?
Take a look at this. I got just the ticket right here.
The ticket, huh?
Yes, sir, look at that. The answer to every homeowner's prayer. Take a look.
Yeah.
Gonna be a beauty, isn't it?
No, if you say so.
Now, look here, Joe. Look what it says. Easy, simple, install in a few hours. Just the ticket.
Do you need one of these?
Have you seen our backyard lately?
No, not for a couple of weeks. Looked all right the last time I did see it.
Well, you ought to see it now. It's pretty bad.
It is, huh?
Awful. I just stand there and look at Perry's yard and want to throw rocks at mine.
Perry's the fireman, isn't he?
No, Joe. That's Neil you're thinking of. He lives on the other side. Perry's the insurance salesman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He's the one who tries all the sales talks out on you, is that
Yeah, tells me all about him. That's pretty good, too. Joe, would you believe it? Up to now, I've bought $246,000 worth of insurance.
What?
Yeah, me, just a policeman. Of course, that's all on paper, just on paper.
Yeah. What's wrong with your yard?
Too dry.
Too dry.
Yeah. Hot weather this summer, you know. Little plants that Faye put out drop like flies, Joe.
They died.
Like flies. But this is the answer, this right here. See? Home sprinkler system. Install it yourself.
What's that?
Look at it.
Well, what is it?
It's a home sprinkler system, Joe. Read what it says here. Resists corrosion, rust, and rot. The answer.
It is.
Right. I'm going to put one of these little gems in my backyard. Just turn on the faucet. Everything's all watered. Don't have to stand there with a hose. Just turn it on and it's watered.
You're going to put this in yourself, are you?
Well, I could, Joe. Like it says here in the paper, shouldn't be any trouble at all.
Who's going to do it?
Well, I thought I'd get all the stuff together and then just start on it Sunday. You know, about 10:30 in the morning. Old Perry and Neil work out in the yards at that time.
They do, huh?
Yeah. They'll see this little gem, and they're going to hop over the fence, see what it's all about.
And then what happens?
I got 'em, Joe. I got 'em.
You have?
Sure, Joe. They see me laying out the sprinkler system right off. They're going to want to help.
Well, if you want them to give you a hand, why don't you just ask them?
Well, you just can't do it that way, Joe. It wouldn't be right.
It wouldn't, huh?
No. You got to be subtle. Remember the kid that whitewashed the fence?
Who?
You know, Huck Finn or whatever his name was. Whitewashed the fence.
You still reading those books?
No, but I remember that he was pretty subtle.
Mm.
I got it figured out. They'll come over and, look around, start asking questions, and next thing they'll be working. After we get the system in, I'll throw a little barbecue and just sit around, turn on the new sprinkler, and it'll be cool.
Yeah.
Sure hope it clears up before Sunday.
Well, it doesn't matter, does it?
Well, sure, Joe. If it rains Sunday, old Perry and Neil won't be out in their yards. They won't be able to see me with the hoses and the sprinkler heads.
Yeah, but if it rains, there won't be any need to put in the sprinkler system right away, will there? I got it. Homicide, Friday. Yeah, Sid. Uh-huh. Did you talk to him? What'd he say? Right. All right, we'll be right over. Want to get your coat?
What is it?
Sid Hughes over at the Mirror.
Yeah.
Just got a call from a guy who's going to kill himself. "10:37 a.m. Frank and I notified the complaint board what had happened, and then we left the office. As we drove out of the City Hall garage, it started to rain. We turned up First Street and then over to Spring. Sid Hughes, the reporter who'd called me, was waiting in front of the Mirror building.
Sid, over here.
Oh.
You got the address, Sid?
Yeah, here. 2682 North Ardmore, out by the Ambassador. Hi, Smith.
Hi, Sid.
All right, let's go. What do you got on it, Sid?
Well, a couple of minutes ago, the guy called. I answered the phone. Told me his name was Jan Patachek. Said he was going to kill himself.
Yeah?
I talked to him for a couple of seconds. It was easy to see he wasn't just another crank. He meant what he said.
How'd he happen to call you?
I don't know. He said something about the paper treating him right. Said he wanted to thank us.
You know what he's talking about?
No, I got Casey Shawhan working on it now. He's our city editor.
Yeah, I know.
He's checking the morgue file, see if he can come up with anything.
You ever heard of him, Frank?
No, name does nothing to me.
How come you figure he's on the level, Sid?
Well, the way he talked, I can't put my finger on it. Just something in the way he sounded. You knew he meant what he said.
What'd you tell him?
I tried to bluff it through, told him that there wasn't anything so important he ought to kill himself over it.
Yeah?
I asked him to let me talk to him, asked him to wait until I could see him.
What'd he say to that?
Told me it wouldn't do any good. Nothing could make him change his mind, said I'd be wasting my time.
Yeah.
Told him I had a lot of it. Wouldn't do any harm to let me see him.
He went along with that, did he?
Yeah, said he'd wait 15 minutes. Told me to come alone, not to figure on trying anything.
Yeah. Frank, you better kill the siren when we get near the place.
Right.
What time you got?
10:42.
Can we go any faster?
What's that?
I told you I believe the guy.
Yeah?
He said to get there before 11:05.
"2682 Ardmore was a two-story Spanish-type apartment house. There was a large courtyard in the center of the U-shaped building. Apartment number 8 was at the rear of the yard. When we got there were several other people standing by the entrance. 2 police units had arrived, and the officers were trying to keep the crowd away from the door to the apartment. 11:03 a.m. As we walked back toward Patachek's apartment, Sid Hughes and I tried to figure some way to talk the man out of carrying out his threat to take his own life.
I'm not sure how to handle this thing, Joe. I'd feel pretty bad if I went in and botched it up. Wish you could do it.
Well, has Patachek ever seen you before?
I don't think so. Why?
Well, we can try a switch if you want to. Tell him I'm Sid Hughes.
Well, that'd be better, Joe. You got some idea what to do in there. I'm not sure I could swing it.
All right.
I told him I'd shove one of my cards from the newspaper under the door. That way he'd know it was me.
All right.
Now, after you're inside, I'll try and get in touch with Casey and see what he's been able to come up with on Patachek.
Good.
Oh, better leave your gun here. Told him I'd come unarmed.
All right.
You think it's a good idea to go in there without a gun, Joe?
Well, we haven't got much to say about it. The big thing right now is to try to get him out alive.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay, you want to hang on to this for me?
Right.
All right, let's give it a try.
Who is it?
It's Sid Hughes, Patachek. I told you I'd be out here. You want to let me in?
What about the card?
All right, here it is. Under the door. How about it? Patachek?
Well, he took the card.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope this thing works out.
You're going to try to get in touch with your office, aren't you, Sid, and see what you can get on him? Might help. Come on, Patachek, let me in.
The police are there. I'm not going to let them in.
They aren't going to bother you.
Tell them to go away. Tell them to get off the porch.
All right, Frank, you better get the other officers to clear the place out.
Right.
All right, the police are gone now. You want to let me in?
Will you bring my mail in for me?
What's that?
My mail, it's in the box, right on the side of the porch. In the box.
All right, I'll get it. All right, now let me in, huh?
Come on. Now stand right there.
You don't need that gun. I'm not going to cause you any trouble.
Turn around.
I told you I was coming unarmed.
Turn around. We'll see. All right, let's go upstairs.
All right.
Just a minute. Okay, let's go.
Why don't you put the gun down? You're going to need that.
I feel better with it.
Mind if I take off my raincoat?
No, go ahead. Make yourself comfortable.
Here's your mail.
Thanks.
Aren't you going to open it up?
No reason to. There's nothing important.
You can't tell. There might be.
There isn't. I know that.
You want a cigarette?
No, but you go ahead. Here, have one of these. I want to be able to see your hands.
All right. Well, what's this all about?
There's no other way.
What do you mean?
All night I've been thinking about it since I got home. There's nothing for me anymore. I'm not going to prison. If they think they're going to take me, then they're wrong.
Well, who says you're going to
The
prison?
authorities, they said I have to go to jail for 90 days. I know how they plan it. They tell me 90 days, and then they'll keep me there for more. Well, I'm not going back to prison.
You ever been in jail before?
Yes, 5 years.
What for?
For nothing. 5 years because I didn't agree with what they were doing. I'm not going back. I'm not going. I'll kill myself
All
first.
right, take it easy. You want to start from the beginning and tell me what happened?
I said I forged a man's name to a check.
Did you?
Yes, but you've got to understand I didn't have any money. They're going to take my car away from me. I'm behind on my rent here. I owe money. All my creditors were hounding me. I thought if I could just get a little money to pay the bills, and I could pay it back when I got a job. I was going to pay it back, all of it. I really was.
How much was the check?
$250.
Whose name did you sign to it?
A man I know. I got a check and signed his name. He has the money. I was going to pay him back. I have a job coming up. As soon as I got paid, I was going to put the money back. I didn't mean any harm. I knew it was wrong, but it was the only thing I could think of. They were hounding me.
Well, what about that car? Couldn't you sell it?
I suppose so, but then if I did, I wouldn't be able to get to my job. I needed my car for that. I had to keep the machine.
Well, you'll have a trial. If you tell them what happened, they'll probably understand. The court will make an allowance.
I've had a trial. I told them I was guilty, that I did forge a check. They told me I had to go to jail.
You said you'd been in prison before.
Yes. 5 years, and I escaped.
Where was that?
In Czechoslovakia. They put me in prison because I wouldn't do what they told me. They killed my father and my mother, and then they put me in prison. I know what it's like. I'm not going back.
Well, the prisons here aren't concentration camps. You know
Well, that's
that.
what you say. I know different. I've lived in them. You see here? You see these 4 teeth in front?
Yes, I see them.
Well, they're false.
Is that right?
I lost the teeth when I was kicked by a guard. You know why I was kicked? You know why he did it?
No?
Because my clothes were torn. That's the reason he kicked me. I tore my clothes, so he knocked my 4 front teeth
Well,
out.
that's all over now, isn't it? Things like that don't happen here.
Well, maybe not out in front of people, but they happen in the prisons. I'm not going to have it happen to me again. There were 800 of us, all arrested at the same time. 800, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah.
800 men, people I knew. 800 human beings with homes and families. And I'm the only one alive now. All the rest were killed. All taken to Buchenwald and run through the showers. Now, don't tell me about prisons, Mr. Hughes. I know. I've lived in them.
Tell me something.
Yes.
You remember the name of the judge who sentenced you here on the forgery charge?
Yes.
Well, let me call him. Let me get him over here and talk this thing over. We can work something out. There's no reason for you to do a thing like you're planning here. It's not that important.
Maybe not to you.
It isn't to anybody. We can work something out here. Let me call the judge.
No, sit down, Mr. Hughes. Look, I'm not a stupid man. I have degrees from 3 universities. I speak 4 languages. I spent 5 years jumping every time a guard looked at me. 5 years wishing they'd kill me. 5 years wishing I could live in hell because it'd be much better than the way things were. Now they think they're going to send me back. They're not. You understand that, don't you, Mr. Hughes? Don't you?
Yeah, I think I understand it. Look, you said yourself that you thought about it all night. Now, isn't it possible that you're making this thing more important than it really is?
No.
I came in here to help you. I want you to help yourself.
Get your hands off me, Mr. Hughes. Now get over there.
Look, I don't know how to tell you, Patachek. I don't know how to make you believe me, but none of us want to hurt you. We want you to be happy here. That's one of the reasons you came to this country, isn't it?
Yes, I read the books about freedom. That's why I came here. Now they're trying to take that freedom away from me. Before I even have it, they're trying to take it away from me. I forged a check. I admitted it. I told them I did it. But I told them I'd pay the money back. That didn't seem to make any difference. They still said I had to go to jail.
Well, you said yourself that you were put in prison for not agreeing with the authorities. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
Well, they don't do that in this country. You know that. Everybody's entitled to his own opinion, live his own life. We've got laws that are written by the people to protect the people. You understand that, don't you? The people themselves write the law.
Yes, I understand that.
Well, you don't break a law just a little bit. Either you keep it or you don't. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Well, you broke the law, didn't you? Isn't that right?
I told you I did. I broke the law.
All right, now listen. After you've broken a law, you can't make it right by saying you'll pay the money back. But the fact that you do want to rectify your mistake will certainly be taken into consideration by anybody in authority. You understand that?
I don't know. I try to think. I've thought about it over and over. I can't come to any answer.
Where are you going?
Got to take something for this headache. Got a bad headache.
What's this here?
What?
This note here on the bureau.
That's what I wrote. Tell why I did it, so they'd know.
Nobody understands what has happened to me. I cannot accept a jail term. All I want is to find peace and freedom. I guess this is the only way to do that. I'm sorry to cause anybody any trouble. Please take care of my dogs. Patachek?
Yes?
You know this is all wrong, don't you?
I don't know. I wish I did, but I don't know.
No, we're not going to need this. There's going to be no reason for it.
What are you doing? Get away from me. Leave my things alone. Like all the rest, you don't understand either. You better get out of here. Get out.
All right, if that's the way you want it.
Why'd you crumple up this note? Now, why?
I didn't think that you'd need it. I thought we had this thing straightened out.
Well, we haven't. I told you, get out.
All right, wait a minute. You said that you'd pled guilty. You admitted you forged that check. Isn't that right?
That's what I said.
Well, how come you're here? How come you happen to be home?
They gave me 24 hours to arrange care for my dogs. I put up a bond. They gave me 24 hours.
Where'd you get the money for the bond?
One of the companies by the jail. They put it up for me.
Well, how about the dogs? Did you take care of them?
No, not yet.
Where are they?
They're out in the kitchen.
Can I see them?
You like dogs?
Certainly I like dogs.
All right, come on. There they are. This one's Marta. This little one's Eric.
Yeah, they look like real good dogs.
They are. Thoroughbred shepherds. Only friends I have.
That's not true. You got friends.
Who? Tell me who.
Well, me, for one, I'd like to be your friend if you'll just give me the chance. How about it? What do you say?
What's that on your belt?
What?
The leather case on your belt. What is it? You don't have to answer. I'll tell you. It's a bullet clip. You're not Sid Hughes, are you? Are you?
No, Jan.
No, you're a policeman. You're here to take me to prison, but you made a mistake, a big mistake.
Yeah?
I'm going to kill you.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action. At cigarette dealers, in vending machines, at supermarkets and stores coast to coast.
Chesterfields, please.
Smokers by the thousands. Yes, smokers by the thousands are now changing to Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever to give you
One, proof of low nicotine, highest quality. Chemical analyses of the country's 6 leading brands confirm that.
2, the only cigarette ever to give you this proven record with smokers. Again and again, over a full year and 1/2, a group of Chesterfield smokers have been given thorough medical examinations. The doctor's reports are a matter of record.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
A responsible independent research laboratory supervises this continuing program. Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever with a record like this. Chesterfield, best for you.
11:18 a.m. I'd been in the apartment with Jan Patacek for 13 minutes. During that time, he'd held a chrome-plated Luger pointed at me. We'd gone into the kitchen to see the dogs, and Patacek had noticed the cartridge clip on my belt. When I'd given my gun and holster to Frank, I'd forgotten to take the clip off. Patacek had noticed it when I kneeled down to pet the dogs. He'd looked at it for a minute, and then he motioned me to go into the living room. He followed, keeping the gun pointed at me. When we got into the center of the room, he told me to sit down, and he walked over to the other side of the room and sat on a chair.
There's some cigarettes on the table next to you. Please give me one.
Yeah, sure. Here.
Just throw it over here.
All right, here you are.
Thanks. Take one yourself if you like. Who are you?
My name's Friday.
You're a policeman, aren't you?
That's right.
You know, killing isn't new to me. I've done it before.
All right?
Yeah. See this gun?
Yeah.
I killed the man who owned it. He was the one at the prison camp, the one who kicked me. After I escaped, I went back. Now I have the gun. Now I don't have to listen to other people who tell me what to do or when or how to do it. You'll listen to me because you know if you don't, I'll kill you. You know that, don't you?
Maybe.
I've seen a lot of killing. I know what it is. I won't hesitate to kill you.
What about the people you know here?
What about?
How are they going to feel after you've done away with yourself?
It won't matter to them.
You sound pretty sure about that.
I'm as sure as I can be.
You mean that in the 2 years that you've been over here in this country, you haven't made any friends that are going to care about
None at all.
What about the people in that picture?
What?
Right here. This photograph here. Christmas party, all the signatures. Won't they care?
No.
How about this one here? Says to Jan with deepest regards. Signed Mary Jane. Is this her?
Yes, that's her.
Looks like a nice girl to me.
She is.
Well, she'll care, won't she?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because all of them, they felt sorry for me all the time. They tried to make it easier because they felt sorry for me. They thought I didn't know, but I did. All the time, I knew.
Well, some of the things that they wrote on the pictures doesn't make it look like that. Some of them are pretty nice.
They didn't mean them.
You really believe that?
I don't have any other choice.
How long's it been since you did believe in anything?
Long time.
How long?
I guess since my mother died.
When was that?
At the beginning of the war. Right after the conference. They came one night. They took her and my father. Took them both. I never saw them again. I heard what happened. Guess that's the time I stopped believing in anything.
How'd you happen to come over to this country?
After I escaped, I went to England for 5 years. I worked with the Czech forces there. Then, when the war was over, I got permission to come here.
I think you said before that you came over here because you wanted the freedom. Isn't that right?
Yes.
You found it, didn't you?
I guess so.
Anyone ever try to tell you where you could go?
No.
What church to go to?
No.
You can say what you think, can't you?
Yes.
Well, why do you want to do this thing?
I try to tell you, I know about prisons. I know what goes on behind the doors. I lived there. I lived and died in them. You ever been in one?
Yes.
As a prisoner?
No, not as a prisoner.
Well, that's just it. Maybe they got you fooled, too. I remember when the people from the relief organizations would come along. The guard would take us out in the court of the prison. They'd make us stand there and tell the people how good they were to us. If we didn't say it that way, then they'd take us back and beat us to death. I know what goes on behind the doors. I know because I saw it. I lived it. Now, don't tell me what happens. Now, you and your law come along and tell me that you're going to send me back.
What about them? Who's going to take care of the dogs? Isn't that the reason that you're here? Isn't that the reason you came home? Who's going to take care of them?
I don't know. Somebody will.
They're going to miss you.
They'll miss me feeding them, that's all.
You know better than that.
Martha, Eric, be quiet.
Well, they seem to mind, don't they?
They're well trained.
You ever shown them?
No.
We have a lot of good dog shows around here. You ought to show them. They'd probably do real good.
Do they have dog shows in prison?
I don't know how to tell you. I don't know how to make you believe me. If you just let me get that judge over here, let him talk to you. Maybe he can make you believe that it's not going to be like it was in your country. You'll be well fed. You'll get decent clothes. Nobody's going to beat you. We don't do things like that here.
I'm not going to prison.
Just let me get that judge over here. Now, let me call him on the phone. He can be here in just a few minutes. He'll tell you. He can do something. There's no reason why we can't work this thing out. Now, let me try to help you, please.
I want to believe you, Mr. Friday. I really do, but it's hard to believe in anything.
I'll just ask you one thing. Trust me. I've never seen you before. I don't know you outside of this room, but I ask you to believe me. And I promise you, I give you my word that I won't let anything happen to you.
I don't know. I don't know.
Let me have that gun. Let me take it. And then we can work things out.
Really think we can do it?
I think we can.
John? John, let me in. I want to see you.
They're here now to take me. You won't let them do it, will you? Please don't let them take me.
Don't worry. All right, you down there. Get away from that door. All right, come on, Jan.
I'll go crazy if they put me in prison again. I know I will. I don't want to go back.
Jan, come on. Give me the gun, will you?
I won't go back. If I go this time, it'll be for good. Now, if they take me this time, they'll kill me for what I did. I know they will.
No, they won't, Jan. Now, please, give me that gun.
Let me in!
Get away from that door and stay away, will you?
They're going to break in. Quick, we got to hide. If they find us, they'll kill us both.
Come on, Jan, believe me. I won't let anybody hurt you. I promise. I give you my word. Now, give me that gun.
You
will
mean that?
I do.
You won't let them take...
No, now, come on. Give me the gun.
I want to believe you. I want to believe
Then do
you.
it. Trust me, Jan. I won't let you down. Come on, give me the gun. Get away from that door. I'm doing the best I can. Who is he?
Now, just stand still, you.
All right.
We did all we could, Joe. This guy got by us. This Patachek owed him money.
We tried to stop him, Joe.
Yeah,
You the man who was with him?
that's right.
Well, you had no business up there. That's what you get for trying to impede justice. That's
You
just
want
what
to tell me
get.
something? What were you doing pounding on that door?
Patachek owed me money. I heard he was going to jail. I wanted to get it before he left. I had a right to be here. If you'd kept your nose out of this, I'd have gotten it straightened out.
Sure you would have. Patachek's dead.
I know that. I heard the shot. I'm out $200 he owed me. Think I'll ever get it back? I hope you're happy. You just took $200 away from me, didn't you?
Come on, Frank. Sit.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On November 19th, an autopsy was performed in the coroner's office in and for the county of Los Angeles, state of California. In a moment, the results of that autopsy.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, we've been getting letters from people all over the country telling us that they've switched to Chesterfield. And just as I've been telling you, thousands of smokers are changing to Chesterfield because only Chesterfield gives proof of low nicotine, highest quality. That's why I recommend you try them today. Regular or king size, you'll find Chesterfield best for you.
The coroner's autopsy disclosed that the death of Jan Patachek resulted from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It was officially recorded as a suicide. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Whit Connor, Vic Perrin, Jack Crucian. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely new Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspaper for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Have you tried new cork-tipped Fatima? It's the smooth smoke. Here's why. New Fatima tips of perfect cork, king size for longer filtering, and Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima has the tip for your lips. Try new Fatima. See how smooth it is. Fatima is made by the makers of Chesterfield, Liggett and Myers, one of tobacco's most respected names.
Visit with Cousin Willie next on NBC.
Sound off for Chesterfield. Chesterfield, low in nicotine, highest in quality, best for you. Chesterfield brings you Dragnet.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to forgery detail. For the past 6 years, a forger has been working in your city. The victims describe the suspect as a woman. Her M.O. is simple, but it continues to work. Your job, stop her. Smokers by the thousands are now changing to Chesterfield. No wonder. More and more smokers are learning this fact for themselves. Chesterfield, low in nicotine, highest in quality. A published fact, proved by chemical analyses of the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever with a record like this. Regular or king size, Chesterfield is best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Friday, September 18th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of forgery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Welsh. My name's Friday. We were on our way out from the office, and it was 10:42 a.m. when we got to the 9th floor of the Beckworth department store, the credit manager's office.
Yes?
We'd like to see Mr. Donaldson, please.
May I say who's calling?
Sergeant Friday, Los Angeles Police Department.
Oh, yes, he's expecting you. Just a moment.
Thank you.
Yes?
The gentlemen from the police department are here, Mr. Donaldson.
Send them in, please.
Yes, sir. You want to go right in? That's the door.
Thank you very much.
Come on in, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mr. Donaldson?
Yes?
I'm Sergeant Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
How do you do?
How you do, sir?
Sit down.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, do you want to tell us what this is all about?
Well, it's the little mother again. I've got the receipts here on the desk. Is Sergeant Ferguson still working on this case?
Yes, sir.
I talked to him the last time we were stuck.
Usual type of things charged?
Yes, children's shoes, dresses, sweaters, same as always.
I see. Now, I wonder if I could have those slips, Mr. Donaldson.
Sure. Here you are.
Thank you.
All made out the same day.
Mm-hmm. August 22nd.
Yes. Our experience is that she usually comes in on a Saturday. Seems that the store is more crowded then, and the girls don't take any more time to verify the accounts than they have to.
Can I see those, Joe?
Yeah, here you are.
Thanks.
Wonder if we could talk to the sales girl who waited on her.
Sure. I'll have her sent up.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Miss Firestone, would you please have Mrs. Allen sent up?
Yes, sir.
I notice here the only item she charged not for children is a woman's slip.
Yes, we've had a couple of them in the past, pieces of women's clothing. I talked to Sergeant Ferguson about it when he was here.
Mm-hmm. Did you get the bulletin we sent out this month?
Beg pardon?
The bulletin giving the woman's description, samples of her handwriting. Did you get it?
Yes, sir, we did. You've got to understand, Sergeant. This is one of the biggest stores in the city. We do a lot of business. It'll be almost impossible to alert all of the sales girls to watch for the woman.
Yes, sir, we understand that. But was the description sent to the children's department?
It was. It didn't do any good, though. If the woman charged large amounts, it might be easier. But look at the sales slips yourself.
Mm-hmm.
$4 shoes, $3 dresses. Nothing to make a charge like that stand out. We make sure that there's an account in the name and then let it go.
Don't you use the charger plate system?
Yes, we do. But if a customer wants to charge an item and hasn't got the plate, we usually just verify the account and let them sign the sales slip.
Well, how about identification?
Well, normally we do ask for it. But as I said, these sales are such small amounts, and the woman comes in when the store is crowded. The girls just call the credit department and let her sign the receipt.
I see.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Mrs. Allen's here.
Oh, all right. Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
The woman who waited on her is out in the office. Do you want to talk to her in here?
Well, we don't want to take up any more of your time, sir. We can see her out there.
All right. If there's anything else you need, I'll be here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, officer,
Yes, sir.
you know, I feel a little funny about this thing.
Why is that, sir?
Well, the things she's charged.
What's that?
Things she's taken, they were almost all kids' clothes. Doesn't seem to be interested in anything else. Total amounts of the articles she's taken don't add up to much. It's the principle of the thing more than the value. It just seems that the only thing she's interested in is the children. And it feels a little funny to call the police about a person like that.
Yes, sir, we understand.
We've got a lot of this going on, but the others, they They take things for themselves, luxuries, expensive items. But she doesn't, just for the kids. She doesn't seem to be at all interested in herself.
Well, we are.
Yes, well, I suppose so. Well, I'll be here if you need anything more.
Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Thanks very much. We'll be in touch with you.
You'll bring the sales slips back, won't you?
Yes, sir, as soon as we've had the chance to photograph them.
Well, I hope you can do something about it.
Yes, sir, so do we. Thank you very much.
Anything you need, you let me know.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Just a moment. Mrs. Allen? Yes? These are the police officers.
How you doing, ma'am? I'm Sergeant Friday. This is my partner, Frank Smith.
Hello.
How do you do, Miss Allen? You want to sit down over here, please?
Yes, all right. I feel just terrible about this.
Ma'am?
All this forgery thing.
Now, you waited on the woman, did you?
Yes, at least in the little girls' department.
Uh-huh. What if you could describe her for us?
Well, she was a little woman. I'd say a 10.
How's that again, ma'am?
A size 10.
Oh.
5'1", about 105 pounds. Cute as a button.
Mm-hmm. Did she have the children with her?
No, she didn't. I thought it was a little funny at the time, but as I say, we were so busy with the school rush that afternoon that none of us girls had a chance to really think about anything.
Yes, ma'am. What color hair did she have?
Kind of sandy color. Guess you'd call it a blonde. Wore it up in a bun. Back here,
Yes, ma'am.
The other girls noticed it. Long. Looked nice. Different than all the other short haircuts. Kind of old-fashioned and homey.
Yes, ma'am. How was she dressed?
Not very well. Had a little blue hat, dark coat, cloth coat. Collar came up like this, Slash pockets. Nice, but not expensive.
I say, ma'am, now, would you know her if you saw her again?
Oh, my, yes, sure would.
Well, we'd like you to come over to our office and look at some pictures, if you would.
All right. I'll have to talk to the floor manager.
We'll take care of that, Miss Allen.
All right. You think that you might have a picture of her?
We don't know.
I kind of hope not.
Ma'am?
I hope you don't have a picture. I guess it's a little sinful to even think of it, but she had a reason for what she did. I'm sure of it.
Why do you say that, Mrs. Allen?
Officer, I've been selling for a long time. I met a lot of people in that time. Nice ones and nasty ones. And believe me, this is one of the sweetest people I've ever served.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that you call her the Little Mother. Is that right?
Well, we don't, ma'am. That's what the newspapers call her.
Well, it fits her to a T. Right to a T. Where she bustled around those dresses, looking, testing. She was just like a mother hen trying to find something for her brood. Little doll, cute as a button. She just got to have a reason for what she's doing.
Sergeant Friday?
Yes, Mr. Donaldson?
I'm glad I caught you. I think we've got it.
Sir?
The little mother is downstairs now.
For the last 6 years, the same woman had been operating in the downtown department stores. During that period, she'd forged a total of $1,300 worth of merchandise that we knew of. Because of her M.O., there was no way of telling how much more had gone undetected. The operation was a simple one. She'd enter a store, go to one of the departments. There she'd pick up articles of apparel, mostly for children, and then ask to charge them. She'd explain that she'd forgotten her charger plate, and after the account had been verified, she'd sign the charge slip. These slips would be put in the mail to the people who maintained the account, and it wouldn't be until they noticed a discrepancy that we'd be notified. Usually a month would pass between the time the clothing was taken and we were told of it. In the 6 years that the Little Mother, as the newspapers had dubbed her, had been operating, almost every team of detectives in the forgery detail had worked on the case. Statements from salesgirls who'd waited on her were taken. Photostats of the sales slips were made. Witnesses were interrogated, and then when the sum total of actual physical evidence was weighed and sifted, there was no lead to the identity of the forger. The police department had gotten out printed bulletins and copies of composite drawings of the suspect, and these had been distributed to all department stores in the area. But because of the suspect's appearance and the way she operated, none of the victims became suspicious in time to notify us. The Department Stores Protective League was working with us, but they met with the same dead ends that we'd found. Meanwhile, the evidence continued to pile up. The operation continued to work. When the manager of Beckworth's department store told us that the suspect was in the store, Frank and I were able to come up with the first concrete lead we'd had since we'd been working on the case. In the company of the manager and the saleswoman, Mrs. Myra Allen, Frank and I went down to the boys' department where the suspect was reported to be.
Down this way.
Yes, sir.
The girl said she was over by boys' suits. I hope they were able to hold her.
Mm-hmm.
Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
I know I don't have to tell you gentlemen about the store's liability in a situation like this.
No, sir.
Now, I'm sure it's her, but it could be very embarrassing and expensive to the store if we made a mistake.
All right, sir, we understand.
Good. Over here.
All right.
Mr. Donaldson, Mr. Donaldson.
Yes, Miss Franklin. Where is she?
It's not my fault. You've got to believe that.
What's the matter, miss?
Don't tell me you stopped the wrong person. You caused trouble with an innocent party and she could sue the store.
I'm sorry, Mr. Donaldson.
Where's the woman, miss?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, ma'am?
She wouldn't wait.
A quick search of the immediate vicinity in the store failed to turn up the suspect. The department store security staff was notified, and a watch was put on all of the doors. The credit department was notified, and they took action. We checked with the elevator operators. We found one that told us she'd seen a woman who answered the description get in her car. She explained that the woman seemed to be in a hurry and had left the elevator as soon as it had reached the main floor. A further check of the store netted us nothing. The suspect had escaped. In the downtown crowds, it would have been almost impossible to try to find her on the streets. However, an additional broadcast carrying a complete description of the clothing she was wearing was gotten out to all cars in the area. The first good chance we'd had for apprehending her was gone. We had to go back to the legwork and the waiting. 3 months passed. During that time, Frank and I cleaned up a series of counterfeit payroll check cashings. Another 30 days went by without activity for the little mother. There were 4 new sales slips added to the file, but when the leads resulting from these were checked out, we were no closer to her than we'd been 6 years before. Thursday, December 17th, 12:55 p.m. I checked into the office.
Joe, that you?
Yeah. What do you got?
Oh, just talked to Skipper.
Yeah.
Got a couple of more beefs about the little mother.
When did they come in?
This morning.
Where are they?
Don Myers got them. He's checking the handwriting.
Well, how about the names she used?
Wait a minute. I got them here in my book. There they are. Mrs. Norris Farrow, Mrs. James Slagle, I guess it is, and Mrs. Ross Neiman. I called the stores and got the information on these people.
Did you talk to them?
Yeah. Asked all the routine stuff. None of them can think of any friends who match the description.
How about the things she charged? Anything there?
No. Usual items. Let's see. 2 pair of Levi's for kids, 1 child's cotton dress. There is one thing different.
What's that?
Well, I checked the sizes of the clothes. The last bunch of sales slips we had, the dresses were for a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
This time she bought them for a 12-year-old. Kids are getting bigger, Joe.
Well, that's a big help. All we got to do is look for a couple of kids that are growing.
Well, I was just trying to help, Joe.
No, I mean, there just doesn't seem to be anywhere to go. All the time we've put in, all the people we've talked to, all we got for it is a file drawer all to ourselves on the thing. I get it. Forgery Friday. Who? Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I remember. Where is she now? I see. Yeah, we can be right over. Yes, ma'am. Bye. Bye. Oh, we got it.
What do you mean?
That was Mrs. Allen. Remember the sales lady over at Beckworth's?
Oh, yeah, I think I do. What'd she have to say?
Told me she's having lunch in a restaurant at the corner of Jackson and Hill.
Yeah?
Our suspect's sitting next to her. 1:02 p.m. We checked out of the office and drove over to the restaurant. It was located at the rear of a large drugstore. When we came into the place, Mrs. Allen met us at the entrance. She took us back down the counter and pointed out a small woman sitting on the last stool.
That's her.
You sure, ma'am?
I'm positive. That's her.
All right, let's go.
Yes.
You want to wait here, Miss Allen?
Certainly.
Something you gentlemen want?
We're police officers, ma'am. We'd like to talk to you.
Police?
Yes, ma'am. You want to step over there to talk? Might be better.
Well, if you want to say anything to me, you can say it right here. I haven't done anything wrong.
Wonder if we could see your identification.
Why?
Your identification, ma'am. Could we see it?
All right, just a minute. I've got it in my purse. Getting terrible. I don't know what you officers are trying to find out, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you can't prove you've got a reason for making me do this, you're in trouble.
We're not making you do anything, ma'am. We don't want to cause you any embarrassment.
A funny way of showing it. I want to tell you that my husband knows people in this town. When he hears about this, Oh, here you are. Here's my driver's license.
Would you take it out of your wallet, please?
Here.
Mrs. Evelyn Nelson?
That's who I am.
This your present address?
No, it isn't. We moved a few months ago, but I haven't had a chance to have it changed. Is that all you want?
No, Miss Nelson, it isn't. I wonder if we could talk to you in our office.
Why? I always thought you had to arrest people before you could order them around.
We're asking you to come over to the City Hall with us, if you will, ma'am. There are a few things we'd like to check out.
What things?
Wonder if I could see what you've got in the bags here.
What are you looking for?
Do you mind if we took a look?
Well, there's just some clothes for my children. Nothing in there to interest you.
Well, then it wouldn't hurt if we looked, would it?
Go ahead. You won't find anything.
You want to take a couple of these, Frank?
Yeah, I got it.
Well, what about it? Did you find anything wrong? Maybe a gun?
No, ma'am, but I wonder if you could explain this.
What's that?
This charge slip here, signed by Mrs. Ross Neiman.
Well, certainly that was probably in the bag when I bought the things. I don't know anything about it.
All right, Miss Nelson. Afraid we're going to have to ask you to come with us.
On what charge?
Suspicion of forgery.
listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action. At cigarette dealers, in vending machines, at supermarkets and stores coast to coast.
Chesterfield, please.
Smokers by the thousands. Yes, smokers by the thousands are now changing to Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever to give you
1. Proof of low nicotine, highest quality. Chemical analyses of the country's 6 leading brands confirm that.
2. The only cigarette ever to give you this proven record with smokers. Again and again, over a full year and 1/2, a group of Chesterfield smokers have been given thorough medical examinations. The doctor's reports are a matter of record.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
A responsible independent research laboratory supervises this continuing program. Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever with a record like this. Chesterfield, best for you.
We returned the suspect to the city hall for questioning. While Frank checked her name through the files, I tried to get her to talk. For 20 minutes, her attitude was one of surprise, and she answered the questions I put to her with indignance. Finally, she lapsed into silence and wouldn't reply at all to further interrogation. Frank came back from R&I with the information that there was no arrest record for Mrs. Nelson. We put out calls to the sales girls who had waited on the little mother in the past and asked them to come down to the office to see if they could identify the suspect.
Yes, ma'am. Room 29. Yeah, come right in the First Street entrance, turn left into the police department. That's right, ma'am. There's an arch there. Go right through it. Straight down the hall and to the right. Well, it's the only way you can go. It's on the left as you go down the hall. That's right, 29. If you'll ask for Sergeant Friday or Officer Smith. No, ma'am, Smith. That's all right, ma'am. We'll expect you. Goodbye. I'll call the next one.
Yeah. You know, you'd save yourself and us a lot of trouble if you'd tell us the truth, Mrs. Nelson. Mrs. Nelson?
Hello, may I speak with Miss Brundage, please? In children's wear? Yes, ma'am, I will.
Hang up the phone.
Beg your pardon?
You don't have to go through this anymore.
All right, ma'am.
You want to tell us about it?
Mrs. Nelson?
I only did it for them, the kids. I didn't want to. How do you think I felt when I knew I was stealing? How do you think I felt?
You want to go ahead?
My husband, Paul's a good man. What he's done, he thinks is right. I can't quarrel with him. But he doesn't know. He doesn't understand. It isn't that he doesn't love the kids. He does. He really does. It's just that he doesn't understand. You can see that, can't you? He doesn't understand about them. Do either of you have a handkerchief? I came away this morning without one.
Yes, ma'am. Here you are.
Thanks.
Want to go ahead, please?
All his life he's worked. Put in long hours without a thought of what he was doing to himself. Every nickel he made was put away so he'd be able to feel secure, so he wouldn't have to worry about anything. It was all right when we first got married. I could understand it then. I went along with what he thought. But the last few years, it's gotten to be an obsession with him. The almighty dollar, that's all that seems important to him.
Now, what kind of work does your husband do, Mrs. Nelson?
He owns a grocery store. Small place, but it does good, makes a good living. Only we aren't living, we're existing. He gives me $10 a week to run the house and buy clothes for the kids. I've tried, Lord knows I've tried, budget meals, cheap cuts of meat, day-old bread. Any way you spend it, no matter how you figure, $10 just doesn't go very far.
Now, Mrs. Nelson, didn't you talk to your husband about it? Didn't you ask him for additional money for the expenses?
Yes, I'd ask him, and he'd tell me that I had to make do all the time, make do just a little longer until he had the money in the bank. Then we'd be all right. Only the more it went on, the worse it got. It didn't seem to make any difference how much money we had, how the total in the passbook went up. He wasn't satisfied. Had to be a little more, a little more. I guess I'm feeling sorry for myself, but you see, he could afford to buy the kids decent clothes, at least that. You agree with me, don't you?
Well, that's hard to say, ma'am.
Not for me. I'll never forget the day when my boy came home crying. He'd been fighting. One of the other boys at school had said something about the patches on his clothes. Just a little kid, that's all he was, ridiculed by his friends. That's when I made up my mind to do something about it.
Does your husband know anything about your activities?
No, nothing.
How'd you explain the new clothes for the youngster to him?
I didn't have to. Last year, he's been working so hard at the store, I hardly ever see him. The kids don't hardly know him. He even spends Sunday at the store dressing the windows.
You mean he spends all his time there?
Every minute he's not asleep. He let one clerk he had go so he could save the money. He always saved the money. It doesn't make any difference who gets hurt. Get that dollar and put it away. That's what counts. Put the dollar away. You know something, officer?
What's that, Miss Nelson?
I haven't been able to sit down and talk to my husband for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. He gets home at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. He's up and gone at 6:30. Kids are always asking when Daddy's coming home. How do you answer him? How do you make him understand? I can't. I've tried the only way I know how. And I did it so wrong.
All right, Miss Nelson. We'll try to work it out.
Can I use your phone? I've got to tell the children what to do about dinner.
I'll call for you if you like, ma'am. What's the number?
Hollywood 98844.
Where's your husband now, Miss Nelson?
At the store, I guess. You're going to call him?
I think we should, ma'am. Let him know what's happened.
I guess so. Somebody's got to take
Hello,
care of the
I'm
kids.
calling for Mrs. Nelson. I wonder if I could speak to her son. This is Sergeant Friday, Los Angeles Police Department. Who? Yes, no, she's down here now. Room 29. All right, fine.
Was that my boy? I wanted to talk to him.
No, ma'am, that was your husband. He's on his way down here. 2:14 p.m. Paul Nelson walked into the office. Frank and I took him and his wife to the interrogation room. She'd asked us while we waited for him if we'd let her talk to him for a few minutes alone. We stayed out in the hall, and after a brief wait, Paul Nelson opened the door and asked us to come into the room. His wife had evidently told him the full story because he was visibly shaken. He walked over to his wife and sat down beside her.
Well, I guess I've really done it, haven't I?
What do you mean, sir?
I've really ruined everything. My home, my kids, everything. All the time it was happening, I never knew it, never had an idea.
Don't blame yourself too much, Paul.
But I should have known. I should have seen it myself. Even when you tried to tell me, I was too busy to see it, too wrapped up with the business.
It wasn't for me, Paul. It was for the children.
It doesn't make any difference who it was for. I'm the one who caused it. I'm the one. It's my fault. I'm sorry, Evelyn. How can I ever make it up to you?
Don't think about that now, Paul. It won't do any good. What's been done can't be changed.
How about it, officer?
Sir?
What happens now?
Well, your wife is going to be given a preliminary hearing. She'll have the chance to plead guilty. If she does, the court will decide what to do.
What's the punishment for what she's done?
Well, according to Section 473 of the Penal Code, it's imprisonment in the state penitentiary for 1 to 14 years or for not more than a year in the county jail.
Is there any way out of it?
What do you mean?
Any way of getting Evelyn out of it? If I went to the judge and told him why she did it, if I told him it was my fault, would that make a difference?
I don't know. That'd be up to the court.
But I could try.
Yes, sir.
If I paid the money back for all the things she's taken, I can afford it. I could go to the stores and pay him. Maybe they'd feel different then, huh? I could make it up to him. Everything would be all right.
Well, it's been going on for 6 years, you know.
But if I did pay the stores back, it'd make it up to him, wouldn't it?
Maybe, but how about your wife?
What?
How are you going to make it up to her? 4:30 p.m. The suspect was released on a writ. The next afternoon, Frank and I met with Mr. and Mrs. Nelson and their attorney. We talked over the case. It seemed that the husband's change of heart was permanent. He swore that he'd never give his wife cause for unhappiness again. 2 weeks later, in Department 89 of the Superior Court, Mrs. Nelson entered a plea of guilty to 14 counts of forgery. When the court reviewed the circumstances and was informed that Mr. Nelson intended to make full restitution, the probation board recommended that Mrs. Nelson be placed on probation for 3 years. After the hearing, Frank and I had a brief talk with the couple. They thanked us for our consideration and understanding. Apparently, the cause of trouble between the Nelsons had been erased. Another 2 weeks went by. January 22nd, Frank and I got back from lunch and we checked into the office.
Here they are, dear.
Mr. Friday, Mr. Smith?
Ms. Nelson, Mr. Nelson, how are you?
Just fine, Sergeant. How are you two?
Fine, thank you very much, ma'am. What can we do for you?
That's what we want to do for you.
Sir?
You got the boxes, honey?
Yeah, here they are.
It's not much, but we thought that you'd like them. Made them ourselves to say thanks.
Look at that, Joe. Mm-hmm. That's not necessary, ma'am. You didn't have to do that.
No, we wanted to. Toll House cookies. Eve made a box for each of you. Real good. Lots of chocolate.
Well, that's very nice of you.
We just hope you'll enjoy them.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure we will.
Yes, ma'am.
How are things going with you?
Oh, just fine. Paul and I have gotten everything straightened out. I help him out at the store now. That way he's got more time to spend with the kids. Things just couldn't be much better.
Well, we're glad to hear that.
It's a funny thing to say, Mr. Friday, but it's true. The best thing that ever happened to us.
What's that, Miss Nelson?
My getting arrested.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 8th, a meeting was held in the county probationer's office in and for the county of Los Angeles, state of California. In a moment, the results of that meeting.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, we've been getting letters from people all over the country telling us that they've switched to Chesterfield. Just as I've been telling you, thousands of smokers are changing to Chesterfield because only Chesterfield gives proof of low nicotine, highest quality. That's why I recommend you try them today. Regular or king size, you'll find Chesterfield best for you.
At the end of 3 years, Mrs. Evelyn Margaret Nelson had fulfilled the requirements of her probation, and the case was officially marked closed. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Vic Rodman, Joyce McCluskey. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely new Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspaper for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Have you tried new cork-tipped Fatima? It's the smooth smoke. Here's why. New Fatima tips of perfect cork, king size for longer filtering, and Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima has the tip for your lips. Try new Fatima. See how smooth it is. Fatima is made by the makers of Chesterfield, Liggett & Myers, one of tobacco's most respected.
This is the NBC Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. 2 hold-up men have been operating in your city. You've got descriptions of the men and of the car they're driving. Your job, get them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, April 14th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Chief of Detectives Thad Brown. My name's Friday. We were on our way out from the office, and it was 10:46 a.m. when we got to the corner of Calhoun Street and Van Nuys Boulevard. The Universal Hobby Shop.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
We'd like to see Stanley McGowan, please.
Oh, Stan's not in right now. Anything I can do for you?
When do you expect him?
It shouldn't be long. He just went out for some coffee. Hey, sure there's nothing I can do?
No, sir. You know where he went?
No, I don't. Probably up the street. He'll be right back, though, if you want to wait.
All right, fine.
Pull up a couple of those stools. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
You mind if I go ahead with this? I'd get it finished this afternoon.
No, sir. You go right ahead.
Pretty jazzy deals. You seen them?
What's that?
These boat models. Put them in a bottle.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a new one. Just came in. Take a look. Jean Lafitte's boat. Pretty, isn't it?
How's that?
Lafitte, the pirate, you know.
Oh, yeah. How do you get it inside the bottle?
Well, the bottle comes in two halves. It's cut apart lengthwise. Here you put the boat in and glue the halves together. There are a couple all finished over there. Look pretty good.
Mm-hmm. How long's McGowan been working here?
Oh, I guess it's been about 6 months, around in there. You guys friends of his?
We want to talk to him.
Oh. That's funny about him.
What's that?
Well, he doesn't seem to have any close friends. You know, like you could call up and ask a favor from. Never hear him talk about anybody like that.
You ever seen any of his associates?
Oh, a couple of times when we get ready to close up, there might be a guy waiting for Stan. Most of the time he plays a single, though. I've tried a couple of times to get him out, you know, stop at the bar on the way home, have a couple of drinks. Stan won't have any part of it, plays it single.
Does he have a car, would you know?
Not that I've ever seen. Say, will you hand me that gold paint over there?
Yeah, sure. This one?
No, the small one there. Yeah, that's right.
Here you are.
Ah, thanks. A little bit of this goes a long way. Touch up the tops of the mast here and she'll be ready to rig.
Well, these friends of his that pick him up, what kind of car do they drive?
Say, what are all these questions for? Who are you guys?
Police officers. It's Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
Cops. Well, what do you want with Stan? He done something?
We just want to talk to him.
I sure hope it isn't anything serious. I'd sure hate to lose Stan.
Is that so?
Yeah, he's one of the best riggers we've ever had. There's a couple of his models over there. Take a look. That one in the case, $150, old Ironsides. One of the best boats we've turned out. Stan did that. Sure got a steady hand. That's what it takes when it comes to rigging, a steady hand.
Want to go out now, Rudy?
Yeah, in a minute. A couple of fellas here want to talk to you.
You want to see me?
Your name's Stanley McGowan?
Yeah, that's right. What's this about?
They're cops, Stan.
Yeah?
This is Frank Smith. My name's Friday.
I'd like to talk to you, McGowan.
You sure? What about?
Might be better if we went out to the car, huh?
Make no difference to me.
You fellas stay here. I'll go out for some coffee.
All right, thank you.
Bring you back some?
No.
No, thanks.
I won't be long.
Okay.
What are you going to talk to me about?
You seen Jim Boland lately?
No, I haven't.
When'd you see him last?
A couple months ago. Why?
Where'd you see him?
He come in here, wanted to know if I could help him out, give him a job, place to sleep.
Did you?
No, I told him he could bunk at my place for a couple of days till he got squared away. Nothing I could do about a job.
Why'd he come to you?
I don't know. I met him at Q. Didn't have much to do with him. Hey, why'd you guys come to me? What makes you think I might be running with him?
We didn't say you were.
Same thing. You figure I know where he is?
Well, the record says you knew him. We're just checking it out.
I got nothing to do with him. I'm reporting every month. You check with my parole officer. He'll tell you. I've been carrying the bucket since the day I got out of the joint. I'm going to keep on carrying it.
We got no beefs with you, McGowan. We just want to get in touch with Boland.
I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do to help you out. Anything comes up, I'll give you a call.
You mention any of his friends in town when you saw him?
Some guy named Phil, that's all.
You know who he is?
No, I never met him. Jim said they were cooking up some kind of deal.
You know what it was?
No. Look, I'd like to feed you guys, but there's nothing I can tell you. As far as I'm concerned, I want to stay away from Jim and the crowd he runs with. I want no part of him. I did my time. A couple more months, I'll finish up with the parole. I don't want to fall again.
Nothing you can tell us about this guy, Phil, huh?
Not a thing.
You know where he met Boland?
Seems like Jim mentioned it. I think it was some bar down on West 7th. Just a guess, though. I couldn't back it.
You know if Phil drove a car?
Yeah.
You know what kind?
It seems like it was a Lincoln, a late model sedan.
How about the color?
It was dark. I saw it once when he came by to pick up Jim. It was nighttime. I couldn't tell too good. It was just a dark color.
Where was this?
My place. I told you Jim bunked with me a couple of days right after he got in town.
He just said you offered to let him stay with you. Is that right?
Well, same thing. Anyway, he was only there a couple of days.
You say where he was going?
No, I didn't see him. Him and me had a beef about how he wasn't looking for a job. He used to sit around all day reading magazines. We finally had a fight about it. I told him to get out. Wanted no part of him. I came home that night. He was gone. I hadn't seen him since. I don't much want to either.
Mm-hmm.
Look, what are you after him for? What's he done?
Just want to talk to him.
He got a piece of these market jobs around town?
Why do you ask that?
Sounds like Jim, the way he works. I just figured maybe it was him. He checked the board. He violating parole.
They tell us he hasn't shown up for 3 weeks.
That's too bad. Kind of figured maybe he'd swing it this time.
How do you mean?
A couple times up in the joint, we'd get to talking. He said he finally learned it. Figured out there was no way to beat it. Said if he got his parole, he's going to stick by it. Get a job, carry a bucket. Too bad.
Mm-hmm.
All that talk, I really believed he meant it.
So did the parole board. 6 weeks before, on March 3rd, the manager of a large supermarket had arrived at work. When he opened the front door, he found that a customer had followed him into the building. When the manager told the person that the store wasn't open for business yet, the man had drawn a gun and demanded that the safe be opened. The manager complied, and after taking $1,400 from the safe, the thief had fled. The manager was able to give us a good description of the hold-up man and an accurate description of his car. He was unable to give us the license number, and he could tell us little about the man who remained in the car. Immediate broadcasts were gotten out on the thieves, but they'd apparently made good their escape. On March 12th, the procedure was repeated. Again, we were able to get good descriptions, but we were unable to come up with the suspects. In the following 4 weeks, the thieves hit 5 more times. Each time, the M.O. employed was the same. The descriptions from each of the victims tallied with those that we'd already gotten. The description of the car was the same. This information was turned over to the stats office for compilation. Their findings listed 14 possible suspects. The packages of these men were pulled from R&I, and the mugshots were shown to the victims. In each instance, one picture was picked as bearing a close resemblance to the holdup man. The prime suspect was identified as James Boland, WMA, 32 years old. He'd been arrested twice for violation of Section 211 of the Penal Code. He'd been convicted once and had been sentenced to San Quentin for a period of from 5 years to life. However, at the prison, his behavior and attitude had been good, and he'd been paroled on February 19th, 10 days before the first holdup. We'd found that Boland had violated his parole and was wanted by the state adult authority. A check of his friends netted us no new information. His relatives could tell us nothing about his whereabouts. The legwork continued. Informants were questioned, but were of no material aid. Saturday, April 18th, 8:46 p.m. I'd just gotten home from work, and I was unlocking my front door. Hello? Oh, yeah, Dave. Yeah, well, I just got it. When was that? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I'll have to call my partner. Right. Yeah, where? Yeah, I know where that is. Well, let's see. It's 8:47 now. It'll take us about, 15, 20 minutes. Right. Okay, we'll see you there. Yeah, sure. Bye. Hello, Faye? Yeah. Frank there yet? What if I could talk to him? Yeah. Oh, Frank? I just got a call from Dave Hyde. Yeah. Says he wants to see us right away. Bar down on 6th Street. Yeah. No, all the way downstairs. Okay. What? Yeah. No, he says he knows where we can find Jim Boland. 10 minutes later, Frank picked me up, and we drove down to the cocktail lounge that our informant, David Hyde, had picked as a meeting place. When we walked in, we couldn't see Hyde, but the bartender told us that he was in one of the rear booths. We walked back.
Hi, fellas. Sit down.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
What do you got for us?
Lousy bum. All the things I did for him. All the things, and now he's got a chance to settle up, and he says he's having no part of me.
You talking about Boland?
Boland. What a bum. All I've done for him, this is the way he pays me back. Boy, you just wait till I spread the word around. There won't be anybody in town who'll have anything to do with him. He's through in this town. THREW.
All right, Dave. Settle down. Give us the word. Where'd you see him?
Bar over on 7th. Big man now. Got a roll. Looks like a branch of Fort Knox. A lot of money. But he's too good for his old friends. Too good. Say, how about you fellas popping for a drink for a pal, huh? How about it?
You've had enough. Come on. Why don't you see Boland?
Just this morning, big man, got good clothes, driving a big car. Asked him for a loan, just to get squared away, pick up a couple of tabs I got around town. Just see me over the hump.
You know what kind of car he's driving?
Yeah, big Lincoln. Brand new. Got red leather trim on the seats. Even got one of those seats that goes up and down, but he can't give a pal a helping hand. I spread this word around town, he's really finished. Ain't a guy in town that touch him with a 12-foot pole. A real darb.
You know where he's living?
I don't know. Probably got a house out in Bel Air. It looks like he can afford it.
Who's he running with, you know?
Yeah, some guy who's lighting cigarettes.
What's that?
Some guy who lights the cigarettes all the time. Supposed to be some gun from the East. Thinks he's such a big shot. The cheap kind, you know. Kind of guy who has his suits cut so as you can see they're carrying a gun. You know, cheap.
You know this fellow's name?
A couple of times I heard old Jim call him Phil. Phil something, I don't know. A real darb. Hey, fellas, how about a drink? I'm feeling real bad.
You still on H?
Oh, no, I swear to you. I haven't had a pop in a long time. I'm trying to get off the stuff. Figured if I could get drunk enough, it wouldn't be so bad. Rough go. Come on, how about a drink?
You've had enough, Dave. You know if Boland's carrying a gun?
I don't know for sure. I didn't see one. This darb Phil's got one. Got his coat cut so as you can see it. Real cheap, small time.
You want to show us where you saw Boland?
I'll take you there if I have to carry you on my back. What a way to treat a friend. All the times I've helped him when he's had a bad yen, and now he treats me this way. Real dog in a manger. I got a lot of friends in this town, a lot of buddies. Word gets out about Jim, he's finished. Miserable bum. I think about the rough times him and me had together. I get ill. I-L.
All right, let's go.
If you nail him, me going back to the joint?
Suppose so.
How long are they going to give him?
It's up to the court.
Ain't a court in the world that'll give that bum what he's got coming. All I want to see is that he gets it good. I want to see him turn the key and lose it after what he did to me. I'll tell you something else, too.
Yeah, what's that?
He's building a big habit.
Is he hooked?
He ain't chipping with it. I bet money he's shooting 4 or 5 caps a day. That much easy.
You sure about that?
Well, why'd I lie to you? What reason I got to lie?
All right, Hyde, let's go.
Hey, how about a quick belt before we go, huh? I'm feeling rocky. Just a quick one.
Let's pick up Boland first, then we'll see what we can do for you.
Yeah, and then you'll take care of it, huh?
We'll see.
Yeah, just so he gets his every pound. Can't wait to see the look on his face when he finds out the whistle's been blown. Oh, I can't wait.
Neither can we. Let's go. 9:13 p.m. Hyde, Frank, and I drove over to West 7th Street. Our informant pointed out the bar where he'd seen the suspect, Boland. He told us that when he'd seen him last, Boland said that he'd be in the bar that night. We called the office and told them where we were, and then we went into the place. Boland wasn't there, but the bartender said that he was expected. The three of us sat down in a booth at the rear of the place, and we ordered black coffee for our informant. We waited. 9:30 p.m. 10:30.
There he is, coming in now.
When you saw him this morning, did he say this guy Phil was going to be here?
No, not to me.
How about it, Joe? You better get out of here, Dave. Use the side door, will you?
Yeah.
We'll check with you later. All right, let's go. Boland?
What?
You Jim Boland?
What do you want?
Police officers, you're under arrest. All right, Boland, come on, get up. Come on your feet. Stand still. He's clean, Joe.
What's going on? What are you pulling a deal like this for? I didn't cause any trouble.
All right, come on, let's go.
Somebody blew the whistle on me. Somebody did. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to get to him. I swear I'll get to him.
Where's Phil?
Huh?
Phil, where is he?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, Boland, let's go.
Listen, you tell whoever it was blew the whistle they better start looking for a place to hide, because I'm going to get to him if it's the last thing I do.
You called it.
What?
It might be. 10:14 p.m. We returned the suspect to the city hall and questioned him. He refused to admit any complicity in the holdups. He refused to tell us who Phil was. We talked to him for 5.5 hours, and we got nothing. At 3:30 a.m., he was taken over to the main jail and booked in on suspicion of robbery. We checked out the room that he told us he was living in, but we were unable to come up with anything that would tie him in with the holdups. 3 days passed. On Tuesday, April 21st at 8:30 p.m., a special show-up was arranged. Out of the 7 victims who were present, 5 said that the suspect looked very much like the man who had held them up, but none of them would give us a positive identification. Jim Boland was returned to the felony cell block, and we talked to the victims. All of them commented on the fact the suspect we had in custody was the same height, the same weight, and had the same general coloring and appearance as the person who'd robbed them. However, none of them would swear positively that he was the person. At 10:15 p.m., Frank and I went up to the felony section and had Boland brought from his cell to the interview room. His previous sullen attitude had changed considerably.
How'd I make out? You get any identifications?
5 of them say you look like the man.
Well, they're wrong. They gotta be. I didn't have nothing to do with those holdups. If they say I'm the guy, then they're making a bad mistake.
They seem pretty sure about what they say.
They can't be. Look, they saw me behind the screen. You bring them up here. Let me talk to them face to face. I'll talk to them. I got nothing to hide. Just let me talk to them.
You know we can't do that.
I always thought it was up to you to prove a guy was innocent as well as trying to make him for a job.
That's right, it is.
Then why don't you give me a break? I got no part in these heists.
You look good for him.
Probably a lot of other guys who do, too, but that don't mean they are. Come on, what do I have to do to make you believe?
Why don't you come off of this, Boland? We got you going in. Why not play it smart and cop out?
How can I cop out when I got no part in it?
I'll lay it out for you. The M.O. used in the jobs matches yours.
Big deal. A lot of guys work the way I used to.
Physical description we got matches you.
So I haven't got 2 heads. A lot of guys look like me.
The beef in the bar. If you didn't have anything to worry about, why'd you start the fight?
How'd I know who you guys were? Maybe you was out to pull a heist on me.
That's a nice try, Boland, but it won't work. You knew we were officers. Now, why don't you save us a lot of time and tell us the truth here?
You guys wouldn't know it if it bit you.
There's one way to find out.
Yeah?
Try it.
You got a cigarette?
Here.
You want one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll level with you. I figured you was after me for PV. I didn't have any idea about the 211 rap.
That why you started the fight?
I swear it is.
How about the money you got? Where'd it come from?
I got real lucky with a pair of dice.
You expect us to believe that?
That's the way things are.
Where'd you hit the light?
I can't tell you that. It wouldn't help any.
Give you an alibi.
Either you believe it or you don't. That's the way it was. I'm trying to level with you.
We got a rumble that you're back on H. Now, how about that?
Where'd you hear that?
We heard it.
Yeah. Well, you tell him I haven't had a pop in over 4 years. Not since I went up to the joint.
How about this Lincoln you're driving?
Don't belong to me.
Who owns it?
Phil.
Now we're back to that. You going to tell us who Phil is?
Listen, the guy's a friend of mine. I don't want to bring nothing down on him.
He's leaving you way out in the cold.
I suppose so. Well, if I tell you, he won't know, will he?
Not from us.
Okay. Name's Phil Spence.
How well do you know him?
Say hello to, buy him a drink, that's all.
That's not the way we get it.
I don't care how you get it. That's the way it is.
This Spence, he ever fallen?
I hear yes.
What for?
211 ADW.
Where?
Here, California.
He on parole?
No, he got out clean. At least that's the way I hear it.
You know where we can pick him up?
I told you I buy him a beer once in a while. I don't pay his rent.
You're the one who said you wanted to go down the middle.
All right, but I'm giving it to you that way. I don't know where his pad is.
Does he work for a living?
I don't know. I never heard him talk about a job.
You know who he runs with?
Some guy named Ed.
You ever see him?
No.
Know where he can be reached?
Sometimes they hang around the bar where you picked me up. How about it, fellas? You gonna buy this story?
Yeah, we'll check it out.
I swear it. I got no part in it. Sure, you got me cold for PV. I know I got to go back for that. But I want nothing to do with the rest.
We'll check it out.
You do that. You'll find out what I said's the truth.
You willing to identify these two other guys for us?
How do you mean?
Check over some mugs?
Sure. Just as long as you believe me.
We'll see.
You won't regret it. A lot of things I can tell you if you get me out of this. A lot of information I can give you.
Let's go.
You're going to give me a break, huh?
We'll check it.
Say, either one of you guys got some extra butts? I'm out.
Yeah. Here, take these.
Thanks.
Anything else you need?
Not unless you can fix it for me to shave.
We'll talk to the jailer about it.
Beard's starting to itch. I'd like to get it off.
We'll see what we can do.
You going to start checking my story now?
That's right.
You go to work on it. You'll find out.
Yeah, sure.
I'll pay you back. Just believe me, I'll pay you back.
Figure he's telling the truth?
It's hard to say.
The identifications weren't too sure.
Everything else is. There's only one way.
Yeah.
Check him out. Tuesday, April 21st. After we left the suspect, Jim Boland, at the main jail, Frank and I went back to the city hall and checked the name Phil Spence through R&I. There were 9 packages carrying records for men with that name. 2 of them had served terms for robbery in the state penitentiary at Folsom, California. We got off communications to George Brereton up at Sacramento and to Washington, requesting information on known criminals having that name. 12:30 a.m. We went back to the jail and had Boland brought from his cell. We showed him the mug shots from the packages we had, but he failed to give us an identification. We talked to him about Phil Spence. He gave us all of the information he could about the missing suspect's habits. At this point, we were still not sure that Boland wasn't implicated in the holdups, but we had to check out what facts we had. The one point which seemed to verify Boland's story was that the victims were unable to give a positive identification of him. 1:30 a.m. We went back to the office and checked out for the night. The following morning, Wednesday, April 22nd, we started to recheck Boland's story of his movements during the times of the holdups. Upon re-questioning some of the witnesses, we found that they weren't as sure as they had been of the facts. That afternoon, we got a kickback from Sacramento. It contained 3 more possibles. CII said that they were sending us mugshots of the men by airmail special delivery. Boland gave us a list of places Spence was known to frequent. We came up with the name of a girl that the suspect was known to see from time to time. We got the address and we went out to talk to her.
Doesn't look like she's home.
We better check with the manager, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You Jane Schofield?
Why?
We'd like to see her.
Who are you?
Police officers.
Come in. I'm her. What do you want?
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
No, I figured that. Move some of those clothes and sit down. Can I get you anything? Drink, maybe?
No, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
How long has it been since you've seen Phil Spence?
Who says I know him?
We understand you know him pretty well.
I've gone out with him a couple of times. That's the end of it.
When'd you see him last?
A couple of days ago. Monday night, I think.
You know where he is now?
No.
You know where he lives?
Some hotel over on Flower.
You know the name of the place?
No.
You ever been there?
No.
You know what Spence does for a living?
I don't know. Got some kind of a job, I guess.
He ever talk to you about what he does?
I told you I'd just been out with him a couple of times. I didn't ask for his birth certificate. I just said I'd go out with him. What are all these questions about anyway? What do you want to talk to Phil about?
It's a personal matter.
What kind of trouble is he in now?
You been in trouble before?
I don't know. Just with you cops around, must be something he's done.
Spence got any close friends that you know of?
Couple.
You know who they are?
One of them's a guy named Jim something.
How about the rest?
Fellow he calls Ed.
What do you know about Ed?
Not much. Is he in it, too?
Ma'am?
He mixed up in this personal thing you want to talk to Phil about?
Maybe.
Never did like him. I always figured he'd end up getting Phil in trouble.
Phil see quite a bit of him?
Yeah. I think he's maybe in some kind of business deal with Ed.
You ever say what the deal was?
Well, not to me. One night a couple of weeks ago, he got real looped, and him and Phil were talking about it.
What'd they say?
I don't know. Phil told me to go powder my nose. I don't know what they said.
And how do you know what they talked about?
Because when I came back, I heard Phil say something about how the deal was going to work out all right. Then he saw me, and they shut up.
Phil owns a car, doesn't he?
Yeah, a new Lincoln.
You ever let anybody else drive it?
Ooh, once in a while, he lets Jim take it. Not often. Phil's kind of touchy about the car. Say, how'd you fellas know about me?
Routine, check and fill out. Your name came up.
Oh, that's all, huh?
Ma'am?
I'm not mixed up in it.
You can answer that better than we can.
Yeah. Well, I want you to know that I'm not. I got nothing to do with Phil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it. I just met the guy. I had a couple of dates with him. He's hung up in something. I got nothing to do with it. You got to believe that.
When are you going to see Spence again?
Well, you believe what I tell you, don't you? If he's in trouble, I got no part of it.
When are you going to see him again, lady?
You mean when have I got a date?
Yes, ma'am.
Tomorrow night. He's going to pick me up when I get through work.
Where's that?
Bar down in Olympic. I'm a hostess there.
Is that where you met him?
Yeah, he came in one night. We got to talk. He asked me for a date. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about it, though.
Ma'am?
Well, about how I met him. I don't usually go out with the customers. Boss doesn't like it. It's just that Phil seemed kind of different. That's the reason I went out with him. I want you to get that straight.
Mm-hmm.
Just a minute.
Expecting anybody?
No, I don't know who it is. Want me to open it?
Yeah, go ahead.
What took you so long, honey?
I got company, Phil.
I know.
I don't think so.
Fine.
You Phil Spence?
Yeah, who are you?
Police officers would like to talk to you.
What about?
Might be better if we went downtown.
Or who?
What?
I don't want to go downtown.
You don't have much to say about it, mister.
It's a pinch.
If it makes you happy, mark it down that way. You want to shake him, Frank?
Yeah. Get away from me, cop.
What are you doing breaking up my place? Get out of here! Get out of here and take that cheap phone with you!
All right, come on, get out. Come on, get out.
You get out of here.
Lousy deal.
Get out of here, my deal coming in and breaking up a girl's apartment. Who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to make it right? Just look at the place.
Oh, shut up. Why don't you tell me they were here? Why didn't you say something?
All right, Spence, let's go.
I'm coming. All I want to know is who told you. Who yapped? That lousy Eddie, I'll bet. He's the one. Never should have picked him up.
He with you on the jobs?
He told you, didn't he?
How about Jim Boland? He in with you, too?
Oh, that guy hasn't got enough sense to come in out of the rain. He's worse than Ed. Should have known not to get mixed up with that dumb Eddie. I should have known. Always happens.
Yeah?
You're on with a jerk, you're going to get tripped up. Lousy Eddie shooting off his mouth. Hadn't been for him, you'd never got us. I'm going to tell him off.
What's the difference? You told them everything they wanted to know. You're all going to jail.
Why don't you shut up? You're always wrong, sister.
Not this time. Let's go.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On August 13th, trial was held in Department 92 of Superior Court of the State of California in and for the County of Los Angeles. Philip Donald Spence and Edwin Floyd Morse were tried and convicted on 4 counts of robbery in the first degree and were sentenced as prescribed by law. Robbery in the first degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 5 years. Jim Nathan Boland was released to the State Adult Authority for action on violation of his parole. He was returned to San Quentin for the balance of his... You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Herb Vigran, Vic Perrin, Michael Ann Barrett. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Dragnet is brought to you by Chesterfield, made by Liggett and Myers. First major tobacco company to give you a complete line of quality cigarettes.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to auto detail. An organized gang of thieves has been stripping cars in your city. None of the stolen merchandise has turned up. There's no lead to the identity of the members of the gang. Your job? Stop them. Smokers by the thousands are now changing to Chesterfield. No wonder. More and more smokers are learning this fact for themselves. Chesterfield. Low in nicotine, highest in quality. A published fact, proved by chemical analyses of the country's 6 leading cigarette brands. Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever with a record like this. Regular or king size, Chesterfield is best for you.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, June 13th. It was overcast in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of auto theft detail. My partner's Frank Smith. The boss is Captain Nelson. My name's Friday. I was on my way into the office, and it was 7:52 a.m. when I got to room 45. Auto theft.
Morning, Joe.
All right, Bob. You seen Frank?
Oh, he hasn't come in yet.
Oh, all right.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
When Art gets in, tell him I'm down R&I, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Bob, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. What happened to you?
Well, if it's all the same to you, I'd rather not talk about it.
That bad, huh?
You seen Joe?
Yeah, he's over his locker.
Thanks. Morning, Joe.
What happened to you?
Joe, I'd rather not discuss it.
Well, what happened? All those scratches on your face there?
Please, Joe.
Well, I was just asking.
Look pretty bad, huh? Joe?
Yeah.
I look pretty bad, huh?
I thought you didn't want to talk about it, you said.
If word about this gets out, Joe, I ain't ever going to live it down.
Is that right?
I've been had, Joe. Cop for 12 years, I've been had.
Well, what's it all about?
You won't spread this around, will you?
Look, I just asked you what happened. Now, if you don't want to tell me, I'll go along with you. You don't have to say a word. Come on, let's get on the reports. What do you say? You better get in touch with Bowles when he comes in and try to check some of these out, huh?
You're not even interested, huh?
All right. Do you want to tell me about it?
Well, if you really want to hear.
Go ahead.
Well, last night I took Faye down to the store. She had a little shopping to do. Small stuff, you know. Pot holders, dish towels, things like that.
Yeah.
I got a parking place right in front of the store, so I waited in the car for her.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting there listening to the radio when this fellow walked up to the car. He leaned in the window and asked me if I had a minute. I told him I did and asked him what he wanted.
Did you know the guy?
Never saw him before. Didn't know him from Adam.
Uh-huh.
Right off, I could see the guy had trouble.
How do you mean?
Well, he looked real bad, like he'd been on a drunk for at least a week. Clothes were all rumpled up, looked like he slept in them for a week. You know how I mean.
Yeah. What did this guy want to talk to you about?
When I saw him, I figured he was going to put the bite on me, so I braced myself, you know.
You braced yourself, huh?
Yeah, you know. I'm a real sucker for hard luck stories. Faye's always telling me I should learn to stay away from those guys. She was just saying the other night that
What'd this guy want, Frank?
Huh?
Well, what do you want, this fellow that talked to you?
Oh, well, he gave me this story about how he'd been on a bat and how he was broke and he needed some money to clean up before he went home.
Mm-hmm.
But he makes it real plain that he does not want a handout. Nothing for nothing.
What do you suppose he meant by that?
That's when he showed me the package.
The package, huh?
Yeah.
What package?
Well, the one he was carrying. Didn't I tell you that?
No, you didn't yet.
Well, you see, before I couldn't see it. Then he showed it to me. It's all done up in tissue paper, ribbons and all. Paper was kind of dirty, like he'd been carrying it for a long time. Ribbon was a little tired, but it was there.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me if I wanted to buy it.
That was this package.
Well, what was in it? He asked me if I wanted to buy that.
Well, what was in it?
He took off the paper and he opened the thing up. And, Joe, inside is a brand new razor. Brand new. Worth $26 in town.
What kind of a razor?
Well, he said he'd let me have it for $20.
No, what kind of a razor? Just a razor, the kind you shave with?
Yeah, an electric razor.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me it was electric.
Didn't I say that, Joe?
No. And you said he'd let you have it for $20 just because he needed the money. Huh?
Yeah. Well, happened that I didn't have $20. You know me, so I told him I couldn't make a deal.
Then he left, huh?
No, Joe. Now, look, you wanted to hear it. Will you let me finish?
Well, it takes you a little time. I have to keep drawing you out here.
I'm sorry, Joe. I want you to get all the facts.
Mm-hmm.
We're officers together. We talked back and forth for a little bit. Guy finally said that I looked like I had an honest face.
That's a new approach, isn't it?
Joe.
Well.
So finally he says he'll let me have the razor for $15. So I bought it.
That's how you cut your face up, huh, with that new electric razor?
Well, in a way. You see, I had to buy some blades last night, and since I had the new electric, I didn't do it.
Well, you don't need blades for an electric.
No, it wasn't for the electric, Joe. It was for the old one that I had at
home.
home.
But you had the electric now.
Sure, and once I had that in my hand, I didn't want any blades.
I see.
Only thing I had in the house was a blade that was a week old. So I got up this morning, plugged in my brand new electric. What do you figure happened?
Well, I'm going to take a real blind guess. It didn't run.
How'd you know?
Well, the same thing happened to Murphy over in robbery last month. There was a big laugh around here. You were one of the guys who laughed the most, don't you remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember now. Miserable.
Murphy know about this yet?
No. I ain't about to tell him either.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, Smith?
Yeah, Skipper.
See you guys?
Right.
Close the door.
Sit down.
Thank you.
What happened to you, Smith?
It's a long story, Skipper.
Oh, you can tell me later. Why don't you guys take a look at this?
What do you got there?
Just saw Chief Brown on the way in. He's getting pressure from the corner pocket. They want this thing cleared up.
What is it, Joe?
Last few weeks, car stripping's taken a big jump. Not the usual line of stuff. Not just happening in certain neighborhoods. We got reports here from the Valley, Hollywood, Wilshire, all of the divisions. Same thing's happening all over town.
Uh-huh.
Talk to the boys in the sheriff's office. They're getting it. Same in Burbank, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica. Doesn't seem to be any place they aren't getting to.
How about the stolen stuff, Skipper? Any of it show up yet?
Not that we can find. All the usual outlets have been checked. None of the loot can be bought.
Any special kind of things being taken?
Let him see those reports, Chum.
Yeah, here.
Thanks.
Take a look. We're not messing with kids in this thing. The way the victims tell it, this gang can break into a locked car and lift the radio in under 10 minutes. They can pull all four wheels off a car in under 6 minutes. Insurance companies are screaming. They already got into the police commission. Chief Brown told me this morning he didn't care how we did it, but he wanted it stopped.
Well, where do we start?
Well, up to now, the investigation's been handled pretty much by the divisions. From here in, it's in your laps. Use as many men as you need. Just bring the thieves in. You're not working on anything now, are you?
No, we're not. We're just winding up that Gibson thing. Couple of reports to finish. We should be through by noon.
We'll turn the reports over to somebody else. I want you to start on this thing right away.
Okay.
Right, Skipper.
Anything you need, let me know.
Right. Check you later.
Right. Smith?
Yes, sir?
How'd you get all those cuts on your face there, shaving?
Well, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, same thing used to happen to me. Why don't you get yourself an electric razor?
Eight 11 a.m. Frank and I asked one of the other men in the detail to take care of the reports on the case that we'd finished, and then we started through the statements we'd gotten from Captain Nelson. From them, we got a pretty good idea of how the car stripping ring was operating. There seemed to be a definite plan for the thefts. Most of the stolen articles were in the luxury class. Only radios were taken from Cadillacs and Lincolns. Heaters were stolen from Chryslers. Special hubcaps from foreign cars were listed among the stolen property. We had the stats office make a run on the M.O. that we could piece together, but their information led us nowhere. In none of the reports was there a possible description of the thief. The times the cars were stripped and the locations where the burglaries occurred made it apparent that it was a large-scale operation. For the next 2 days, we talked to the victims. We double-checked the time of the thefts and the movement of the victims immediately preceding the car stripping. We asked about people loitering in the vicinity of the parked cars. None of the drivers who'd been victimized could supply us with any more evidence than they'd given us in their statements. Friday, June 16th, we checked the list of recent parolees from state penitentiaries and work farms looking for ex-convicts who'd been involved in cases of car stripping. The list of names we came up with were checked out, but they led us nowhere. In the meantime, the pressure from the citizens groups in the city had gotten worse. At the end of the first week we'd been working on the case, the value of stolen articles reached about $500 a day. Additional officers were assigned to patrol the streets. Radio cars doubled the number of field interrogations they normally made, and although several arrests were made, the possibles picked up apparently had no part in the activities of the organized ring. On Saturday, June 24th, we got a call from an ex-convict. He asked us to come out to his garage and talk to him.
Come on back here, fellas. We can talk while I finish up.
All right.
Hey, quite a place you got here, Al.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky. Got just about all I can handle now. And the way business is going, I'm going to have to take on some more help.
How many men you got working for you now, Al?
2 full-time. Saturdays, I got a couple of kids who come in and help out with the wash jobs.
Uh-huh.
Now, we can talk right here. Pull up a couple of those chairs.
All right.
There's a rag there on that bench if you want to wipe them off. They get a little dirty standing around.
That's okay, Al. What do you want to see us about?
Well, first off, I want to tell you guys that I appreciate the way you treated me when I fell. I'll never forget it. Real nice.
Don't worry about it, Al.
I read in the papers where you're getting a lot of heat on the stripping going around.
Yeah, that's right.
I just wondered how you're doing on it.
Well, it's going pretty slow. Why, do you know anything?
I got a couple of rumbles. You know, it's hard not to hear them.
Uh-huh.
I heard that none of the stuff's been shoved, that right?
We haven't seen any of it.
Well, the way I get it, you aren't about to. Hey, hand me that socket wrench, will you?
This one?
Yeah,
Here you go.
Thanks. Fella came in here a couple days ago. I knew him from before. He said he wanted to do business.
Uh-huh.
He asked me if I was interested in some good buys and used radios.
Uh-huh.
I told him I might be if they were good. He said these were the best, all GMs. Then he gave me the price. When I heard that, I knew something was off.
What was he asking?
I told him he could deliver 6 Cadillac radios for $28.50 apiece. I asked him where he got them.
What did he say to that?
I told him he wasn't any of my business. Said where he got them didn't make the radios play any different.
What makes you figure he might be in on the operation we're after?
Well, I told him that if he could make deliveries at that price, I'd want a lot more than a half a dozen.
Yeah?
Well, he said he couldn't supply them. Said that he only could spring 6. I asked him if he was working alone. He told me no. I figured I ought to give you guys a call. Might be something for you.
You said you know him, huh?
Yeah, from before.
Say, you guys like a cold beer?
No, Al.
No, thanks, sir.
Oh, you mind if I have one? It's kind of hot.
No, go ahead.
Thanks. Day gets a little hot. You really notice it. Are you sure you guys don't want a beer?
No. No, thanks.
Never could drink out of a can. It seems to taste better in a glass. Oh, that's good.
Who was the guy, Al?
Oh, it's Manny Phillips.
You know where you can get in touch with him?
I haven't got the slightest idea.
Has he ever fallen?
Yeah, I did time at Q for GTA.
Is he on parole?
I don't know. I think he made it free, like I told you. I didn't know him real well. Used to hang around, never had much to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen him since I got out. I've been steering clear of the old bunch. Makes it easier if you don't pal around with them. Business I got's going good. Got no trouble with anybody, and I want it to go on like this.
Mm-hmm.
I never could figure it. Guy falls out, and right away he's back with the same old bunch. How you going to stay clean like that? Well, you aren't. Somewhere along the line, you got to make a mistake. You're right back where you started.
How long did it take you to learn it?
I spent 4.5 years at the joint.
Well, some of them fall harder than that, Al.
Yeah?
And they still don't learn. 11:20 a.m. We called the office, and Sergeants Bob Beck and Officer Art Molnar came out to the garage to stake out in case the suspect came back. Frank and I took Al Woodson down to the city hall and checked the name Manny Phillips through R&I. From the packages that were pulled, we were able to get an identification of the man who'd offered the radios for sale. We checked the information contained in the package. Phillips, whose real name was Manuel Richard Phillips, had an arrest record dating back 12 years. He'd spent 1 year at Fred C. Nellis School for Boys for car stripping when he was 14. From the time of his release, he'd been arrested on the average of once every 2 weeks. His age at the time of his latest release from San Quentin was given as 26. Out of that time, he'd spent a total of 8 years in state penal institutions. From his package, we obtained his last recorded address. We checked it out and found that he'd moved 3 months before. We checked his forwarding address. He'd moved. Finally, after talking to the managers of 9 more rooming houses and apartments, we came up with his present residence. The landlady told us that Phillips apparently didn't work for a living, but that he always had the money for his rent. She described him as quiet and said that he usually spent a good part of the daylight hours in his room. She was unable to tell us anything about his friends or any business associates that he might have. A stakeout was set up on the place immediately. Because of the apparent size of the operation, it was decided not to attempt to take the suspect into custody at this time. Instead, Captain Nelson agreed that we should keep Phillips under surveillance and try to learn more about the car-stripping gang. For the next week, we followed Phillips. 24 hours a day, there were at least 2 officers tracing his movements. On 3 nights, he was watched while he stripped cars of expensive accessories. The area was put under a Code 5, so there would be no possibility of the suspect learning he was under observation. 11 days after the surveillance began, Phillips was observed to visit a large marine supply yard down in San Pedro. The next night, July 6th, he drove up to the place at 11:37 p.m. He parked his car in front of the gate and dropped the large bundle over the fence. Immediately afterwards, he returned to his room. The following morning at 8:06 a.m., we met with Sergeant Beck in Captain Nelson's office.
Find out about the ownership of the supply yard.
The license was issued to a Harry Swenson.
Well, how about him?
We checked the name through the I Bureau. Nothing on him there.
Beck, you and Molnar come up with anything?
Not that you haven't got. We staked out on the yard every night since we found it. Hasn't been a night that passed that some car hasn't made a delivery of some kind. Got the license numbers of all the cars. They've all been checked out. We know who they are and where to find them.
We've had a tail on Swenson every minute. Must have eyes in the back of his head. As soon as one of our men falls in step, he knows it. The way he's acted, there isn't a thing we can prove.
What's the DA's office say about it?
We had lunch with Alexander yesterday, Skipper. Laid out the evidence we had.
Yeah?
Told us if we tried to take Swenson to court with what we've got, they'd laugh us out of town.
Well, where does that put you?
Well, really not much further than we were. We know who's behind the ring. We know where they're operating from. The big thing now is to find the plant. Unless we can produce the stolen merchandise in Swenson's possession, we haven't got a case that'll stand up.
There are no leaks about the plant?
No, not that we can find. Everybody that's been near Swenson's place has been tailed. Twice a week there's a truck that leaves the yard. There's no way of telling what's in it, and the times we followed it, we've lost it.
Well, how about a bug? Can you get one into Swenson's office?
Well, I don't know how. There's no way of getting him out of there long enough to install one. The night watchman's always on the premises. We're not even sure he's not in on it, too.
So where do you stand on it?
Well, your guess is as good as ours. Alexander says that without finding the plant, we can't take him to court. Now, we've used every trick in the book to get him to lead us to it, and not one of them's worked.
They haven't left a thing open. They're playing it real smart.
How many men involved in the operation?
Well, we're not sure, but as near as we can figure, 12. That's not counting Swenson or that night watchman.
You've been in the business long enough to know it, then.
What's that?
When there's that many men working, there's got to be a leak someplace.
Yeah?
Find it.
You are listening to Dragnet, the authentic story of your police force in action. At cigarette dealers, in vending machines,
At supermarkets and stores coast to coast.
Chesterfields, please.
Smokers by the thousands. Yes, smokers by the thousands are now changing to Chesterfield, the only cigarette ever to give you
1. Proof of low nicotine, highest quality. A matter of record.
2. The only cigarette ever to give you this proven record with smokers. Again and again, over a full year and one half, a group of Chesterfield smokers have been given thorough medical examinations. The doctor's reports are again a matter of record.
No adverse effects to the nose, throat, and sinuses from smoking Chesterfield.
A responsible independent research laboratory supervises this continuing program. Chesterfield. Best for me, best for you.
For the next week, a close surveillance was kept on Swenson's Marine Supply Yard, but there were no breaks. Kickbacks from George Brereton up at CII in Sacramento and from Washington, D.C. didn't disclose any previous criminal record on the suspect. During that week, on Tuesday, July 11th, and on Thursday, July 13th, a large stake truck left the yard. The back of the truck was covered with a piece of canvas so that we were unable to see what was in it, but we were reasonably sure that it contained stolen merchandise. In scouting the neighborhood for a possible place to establish a more workable stakeout, we came across an empty office on the second floor of the building directly across the street from Swenson's place of business. Officers equipped with binoculars maintained a constant watch on the activities in the yard. After another week, the events that had been seen were reported to Assistant District Attorney Adolph Alexander, and he stated that if we could get pictures of the operation, we might be able to make a case that would stand up in court. Monday, July 17th, we met with Sergeant Putoff in the crime lab.
How far are you going to have to be from the subject, Joe?
Well, second floor across the street.
Well, are you going to be able to take all the pictures during the day?
Don't think so, Putoff. Most of the activity runs after 9 at night.
Mm-hmm. Well, best bet probably infrared, then. We can shoot it with a 4x5.
How about light?
Oh, is there any sort of telephone pole, traffic signal in front of the place?
Yeah, I think so. The way I remember it, there's a phone pole about 10 feet to the left of the gate as you face the yard.
Oh, we can tie the lights to that, then.
Well, any chance they could be spotted?
Outside. We can put them up pretty high. Be regular lamp reflectors with heavy infrared filters. If you know they're there and look up, you're going to be able to spot them.
Any chance of taking movies?
Yeah, we can swing that. Life magazine's been experimenting with a new fast film. Results I've seen with it are pretty amazing. All you need is one street lamp. We can use that.
Well, if you have to string the infrared lights, wouldn't it be better to shoot the movies on that kind of film?
Well, you'd get something. Film's pretty slow, though. Be better to use the stuff Life's come up with.
All right, how long will it take you to set it up?
Well, how careful do we have to be?
Well, these guys are pretty cagey. If they get any idea at all, we're dead.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can have a couple of men go out in the morning. We can outfit them as linemen. They should be able to have the rig ready for you by tomorrow night.
We can start shooting pictures then, huh?
Should be able to, yeah.
All right. Is Jay Allen around, do you know?
Well, I think he's over the court this morning, Joe.
Well, then maybe you can help us out there, too.
Oh, what's that?
We're trying to figure some way to tail a truck. We've been trying to find the plant these guys are using for a couple of weeks now, and we just can't get near them. We wondered if Jay might have any ideas on that.
Probably use fluorescent paint. That ought to do it.
What's the gimmick there?
Well, you tie a can of transparent fluorescent lacquer to the back of the truck. Punch a hole in the can, and all you got to do is follow the drops.
You punch a hole in the can, won't all the stuff run out?
Well, there's a couple of brands on the market. They've got enough viscosity so the paint will stay in the can. Regulate the frequency of the drops by the size of the hole.
Can you see it?
Not without ultraviolet lamp. Tie one of those to the hood of your car, and you got it made.
You got the equipment here to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, would you have Jay give us a call when he comes in?
Right. He'll know more about it than I do. Be able to give you all the dope.
Okay.
I'll get right on the other for you.
Thanks a lot.
Say, how long you been after this bunch?
Well, let's see. We got the assignment on June 13th. That'd make it over a month now.
A lot of time.
Well, maybe now we'll have something to show for it. The following morning, Tuesday, July 18th, 2 men from the crime lab installed 3 1,000-watt lamps in front of the Marine Supply Yard. The reflectors were equipped with heavy infrared filters. Test exposures from our position across the street indicated that whatever pictures we got would be recognizable enough as to be admitted in a court of law. The new fast film was obtained, and 16-millimeter cameras were installed in the window of the office across the street from Swenson's. We talked with Sergeant Jay Allen in the crime lab, and he went to work on the use of the fluorescent paint. After experimenting, he was able to come up with the correct size hole in the bottom of the can so that a single drop of the lacquer would fall from the can every 10 seconds. A portable ultraviolet lamp was obtained and was ready for immediate installation on our car. For the next 3 nights, we sat in our vantage point and we photographed all activity on the suspect's premises. The pictures were shown to Adolph Alexander in the district attorney's office, and he told us that they would play a large part in the prosecution of the case, However, he said that if we could come up with the hiding place of the stolen loot, a conviction would be assured. Tuesday morning, July 25th, 3:15 a.m. Frank and I took the can of fluorescent paint and climbed the fence into the supply yard. Back here.
Right. Lousy thing, I didn't see
All
it.
right, you better hold it a minute.
Who's there?
It's the watchman.
Yeah. Better get back in the shadows.
Yeah, come on, easy.
Come on out, I know you're there. Come on now. Who is it?
Well, that was close.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. The truck should be back in the shed.
Right.
All right, here we are.
Here's the can. You want to hang it? I'll keep an eye out.
All right. Get this thing on here. You thought up this handle. This don't work at all. Wait a minute.
You bend it down?
Yeah. Give me your handkerchief.
Wait a minute.
There's a sharp edge on this wire.
Okay, here it is.
All right, wait a minute. We still clear there?
Yeah.
How about that watchman?
He went back.
Right there we are.
How about the stopper in the can?
I got it in place. The first bump should knock it out.
I hope so.
Well, it's got to work. All right, now let's try to get out of here. See if you can kick something else, will you, on the way? Tuesday night at 11:35 p.m., the stake truck pulled out of Swenson's Marine Supply Yard. Sergeant Bob Beck, Frank, and I were parked in an alley just down the street. We let the truck get a good 20-minute start on us, and then the ultraviolet lamp was attached to the hood of our car. Frank started the motor, and we pulled out into the street.
Spot anything yet?
No.
Maybe the lacquer dried up around the cork, held it in place.
Well, that's a happy thought.
Well, here's the corner. Which way?
Well, wait a minute. Let's take a chance straight ahead, huh?
All right.
Well, there's nothing up this way. You better double back.
Okay.
Let's try it to the left this time.
How about it? See anything yet?
Go on up a little more, will you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Look at that stuff. It's really lit up.
For the next 35 minutes, we followed the trail left by the fluorescent paint. From time to time, we'd lose the trail, but we'd always pick it up again. The truck followed the main highway from San Pedro to Santa Monica and then turned left up Santa Monica Canyon. The trail wound around toward Sunset Boulevard and turned to the left. About 1 mile from the beach, the drops indicated that the truck had left the main street and turned onto a private dirt road. Half a mile along the road, the trail stopped in front of a large wooden building in the middle of a field. We turned off the car lights and went up to the place. The blinds on the windows were drawn, but there were lights on in a front room. Sergeant Beck covered the rear of the building, and Frank and I went up to the front door. All right.
Yeah.
What are you doing in here?
Police officers, you're under arrest.
For what?
Is there anybody else here in the building?
What are you arresting me for?
You want to check with Beck, Frank?
Right. What are you doing coming in here like this? You got no right coming around kicking doors
All right,
in.
save it, Swenson.
How do you know my name?
We've been watching you for a month now. Is there anybody else in this house?
No.
Do you own this place?
I'm not answering anything till I see a lawyer.
All right, you call it any way you want. We can find out.
Got no right in here. I'm going to see my lawyer.
You do that, Swenson.
What's the charge?
Burglary.
You think you can make it stick?
We're going to try, mister.
Where's your evidence? You got to have evidence.
We got it.
There's nobody else here, Joe. Back room's full of stuff. Radios, heaters, tires, all here.
So what? You can't put me away for that.
All right, let's go, Swenson.
Now, just a minute. Will you listen to me a minute?
All right.
Ah, you got this all wrong. You're making a big mistake here. I intend to pay for every bit of that stuff back there. I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah, that's right. You will.
The story you have just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 12th, trial was held in Department 97, Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of Los Angeles. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you, George Fenneman. Friends, we'd like to express our appreciation to all of you who've made our Dragnet theme song so popular. Whenever or wherever you hear it, we hope it'll remind you to try our Chesterfields. To join the thousands who are changing to Chesterfields and getting the one cigarette that's low in nicotine, highest in quality. Chesterfield. Best for me, best for you.
All other members of the gang were taken into custody and were brought to trial. Harry Ralph Swenson, along with his accomplices, was tried and convicted of 14 counts of burglary in the second degree and received sentence as prescribed by law. Burglary in the second degree is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for a period of not less than 1 nor more than 15 years.
If you had only one book, the Bible, do you know that you would have within its covers the finest examples of literature, both in prose and poetry? You'd have stories which have never been equaled: adventure, love, history, and prophecy. So read your Bible every day during National Bible Week.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department. Technical advisors, Captain Jack Donahoe, Sergeant Marty Wynn, Sergeant Vance Brasher. Heard tonight were Ben Alexander, Vic Perrin, Jack Crucian. Script by John Robinson. Music by Walter Schumann. Hal Gibney speaking.
Watch an entirely new Dragnet case history each week on your local NBC television station. Please check your newspapers for the day and time. Chesterfield has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Have you tried new cork tip Fatima? It's the smooth smoke, with Fatima tips of perfect cork, king size for longer filtering, and Fatima quality for a much better flavor and aroma. Fatima is made and guaranteed by Liggett & Myers Tobacco Company. Try Fatima today.
Hear Frank Sinatra as Rocky Fortune tonight on the NBC Radio Network.